Make sure you hit the like, share, subscribe, and the notification button. You're on Facebook. Make sure you hit the like, share button. Shout out to everybody who's been supporting, watching the rebroadcast. Numbers have been great. Also, too, me and Jess are really, really tired, because we went out to Calabasas last night, and shout out to Edie of the Outlaws. He had a live taping of his actual podcast called the Outlaw Show, and we definitely went and we participated in that. It was pretty cool. Right now, there's this dude named Jeff Pearlman who put out a book called "Only God Can Judge Me: The Many Lives of Tupac Shakur." And so Edie actually interviewed him, and it was really, really, really interesting because here goes this guy who's never met Tupac. He's a white guy from New York. He's a sports writer. Matter of fact, he wrote the book Showtime, which is what the HBO series Winning Time is based off of. And so definitely, he definitely an interesting cat. But he wrote this book and it caused a lot of stir. The one thing that he's got noted for was that he actually found the baby from Brenda's Got a Baby. He actually located him, located the mother, reunited the son and the mother. But he's also said some disparaging things about Tupac. For instance, saying that he wasn't a tough guy, this and that. He didn't know how to shoot. A few other things, saying which had the internet in uproar. And if you guys know anything about Pac fans do not play about that man. So it was really, really interesting to have him on his show because Edie is, of course, one of the original members of the Outlaws, and he grew up with Tupac. He knew Tupac when he was in New York. And then when Tupac moved out to the Bay, he came out to the Bay with Tupac and essentially been with him since. So, a lot of stuff that he was talking on, especially like the incident that happened in Marin City, Edie was like, no, how are you going to talk about that and tell me when I was there? And he had to try to tell him, no, yeah, I talked to people. He said, yeah, you talked to people, but I was literally right there. And, bullets were whizzing by. And it was really just really, really intense and interesting. So, yeah, definitely shout out to Edie for the invite. Thank you. I appreciate you. We're gonna try to work on something to get him here on this show. I did talk with Jeff Pearlman. Matter of fact, the one thing I will say about him, I'm gonna give him a little bit of respect because when Edie put out, well, who wants to come to the show? Hit us up and or inbox me and I'll send you an invite. I said, hey, I want to go. I got questions and I got smoke for this guy, and he's seen it on the Instagram post. And so, doing what I'm pulling the move that I would pull. He message request me and he friend request me. He started following me on Instagram. And then we started talking in the inbox. And so he said, hey, if you got any questions, you can ask me here or you can ask me there. I said, I'll do both. So me being in the true Sagittarius, I pulled up too, so we drove all the way to Calabasas to make it happen. So, but, we did talk. He said he's open to come on to the show. So maybe next Friday we can make it happen. And, if anybody out there, all the Pac fans, you got questions for him, get them lined up, get them ready. I threw him a curveball. Shout out to the homie Zayd Malik, saying he was there. He threw him some good curveballs too and actually re-educated him about the code of thug life. So is he perfect? Nah. But, saying if Edie can have him on the show, especially when somebody who actually knew Tupac, then I think we can have him on this show too.
No, I think that's super dope, man. It's kind of odd, but it's dope.
What's odd about it?
Yeah. A sports writer writing a biopic about somebody that he's never met, and
that part
judging him based off of public view and what's on the internet without context. You know what I mean? And the context would be actually knowing that person. You know what I mean? Saying stuff like he didn't know how to shoot. But we all know he hit a couple officers off duty up there. Don't take much to shoot. So, I mean, that's ignorant in itself. And some other stuff you had mentioned to me behind the scenes. But I would love to have him on the show because I definitely have questions on what drove him down this path because this is a long way away from sports.
Oh yeah. I'll reach out to him and see if we can try to pull it off for either next week or the week. I wanted to wait for Edie to put up his show. You know what I'm saying? He did it live, but I know shout out to his producers. So I'm waiting for Edie to put it up. You know what I'm saying? I know actually right now, truthfully, he's interviewing right now with Bomb First. You know what I'm saying? So but
Mm.
I definitely that's one of the dream people who I wanted to interview was Edie because he grew up with Pac. I'm actually a huge fan of the Outlaws. You know what I'm saying? I got the albums. I even got the Blood Brothers album, you know what I'm saying, with Edie and Castro. So I definitely got some questions. And of course, with me knowing Frank, with me even being cool and associated with Johnny J, uh, I knew people who knew him too. So, if it wasn't for Pac, I don't even know if I would actually be rapping. You know what I'm saying? He inspired me to actually write my life out on pen. So, you know what I mean? So to interview Edie is definitely dope. Um, wait,
Absolutely.
hold up. Yeah, it'd be okay. But see, here's the thing. I think Pac was a complicated and he was complex. Again, and there's a lot of stuff that we could relate. He moved around a lot. I could relate to that. He moved from New York to Baltimore to Marin to Oakland. He never really fit in. At one point, he was raised by his mother, but his story is so much more than that. His mother was a Black Panther who essentially like literally defended herself and 20 others, got them all free. She was of the people for the people, but then at some point the people wasn't really taking care of her, and she had some stuff she had to face. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of what I was taking away from this book made me really empathize more so with her. You know what I'm saying? More so with his sister Set, because we don't really hear these stories. So there is that aspect of the book. But if he wasn't a tough guy, no. But at the same time, I mean, there's plenty of things that are documented to show that he wasn't no punk either. He
Right. 'Cause
stood
I was
up.
gonna say, are tough guys really tough?
Hmm,
That would be my question. Are tough
that's a
guys
good
really
question.
tough?
That's a
'Cause
good
most of
question.
the time,
Um,
When you say
I mean, I think his toughness was misconstrued with his passion. Like
that's it.
he is very educated, man, and he stood for what he believed in, and he protected what he believed in. So, do I think he was going around picking fights? Nah, but like what Third said, he wasn't no punk either. So
Exactly.
that's my outtake on that.
Well, that's why I think he resonated so well with the masses, is because everybody could see a version of themselves in Tupac. You know what I'm saying? Everybody was able to see a version of themselves, either a past life, the life they living, or a life that they've been a part of, even if it wasn't necessarily them, in understanding the plight of a black man in America, going through all those different emotions, being educated, being the son of a Panther, who I'm pretty sure he was on FBI watch list and all kind of other stuff, being, a music mogul in a time where uh, there were no rules, and the blueprint hadn't been laid on what you were and weren't supposed to do, and public image and all of those kind of things, and being surrounded by a bunch of gangsters while still being an intellectual
Mm-hmm.
is a tough path. So
And he was
that's
only one of the real ones that was doing it like that back then. Like using his platform for that.
I mean,
So,
I think Pac was every version of the person that he portrayed to you. Do I think he lived in it 24/7? Absolutely not. But I think all of us have a thug side when it comes to certain things. I think all of us have a militant side. I think all of us have a poetic um, life where we find beauty in the small things and can turn up when necessary.
oh yeah,
I think he was exactly who he showed us he was.
yeah. A lot of the people who I knew that knew him that I talked to personally, they told me that again, you get several different Pacs. But that's the complexity. The thing about us as humans, if you're real with yourself, the only perfect human being is the imperfect human being. And he was a walking, talking contradiction. But that's we all are that. You know what I'm saying? We're multifaceted faceted where we have different sides. You know what I'm saying? We have we're a different way when we're around our mothers. You know,
Right.
I've just showed you that he's a different character when he's around his daughter. You know what I'm saying? Quez is probably a different character when he's around his son. When we get together, when we hang out, we're different amongst ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like you just because you're one way over here and you may not be this way over it does not mean that you're fake, doesn't mean that you're fronting, doesn't mean anything. Because again, the same people who you see that will baby their daughters or nieces, nephews, and sons or whatever will be the same ones that will still pop off if you test them. And that was the thing. I think he got tested each and every single city that he went to because people tried to act like he was a punk. You know what I'm saying? So there were times when so one of the things where Jeff said in the book was that, oh, he wasn't a fighter, he wasn't this, he wasn't that. But in the same breath, the people that he's interviewing, because he interviewed like 600 people, you have people saying that, if somebody threatened them, like, hey, well, we're looking for Tupac, Pac would be the first one up. Even if he got his tail kicked, he would step up, like, hey, you looking for me? And sometimes he'd pop off and he would swing and he would knock folks out. He won some, he lost some. You know what I'm saying? So even the book itself is a walking, talking contradiction. He was no punk.
Yeah. I think you explained that pretty well, Third. You know what I'm saying? We are different versions of ourselves depending on who we're around. So I think that's a very insightful theory on that.
It says not to say he was fake.
Not to say he was fake, but every artist has to play a part for the image when you get that big. What part wasn't the real Pac? I think that truthfully, man, I think he showed you that's what made Pac so relatable because he showed you his vulnerability. The man said in a song, literally, even as a crack fiend mama, you always was a black queen mama. I finally understand. For a woman, it ain't easy trying to raise a man. You always was committed. A poor single mother on welfare. Tell me how you did it. There's no way I could pay you back. But the plan is to show you that I understand. You are appreciated. And if you look at that, that's vulnerability. So how is that not real? Even if he's relating in his music, he's showing you that he can be the thug. He's showing that he can be sensitive. He's showing you that, hey, that there's women out here like the dear mamas to keep your head up. The Brenda's got a baby, but then there's wonder why they call you bitch. He's talking about the money hungry grubbing chicks out there. He's saying that not every one person is going to be one way, or not every person is the exact same. You have some women over here who are queens. You have some over here who are this. You have some dudes over here who are kings, and you have some dudes who are punks.
And I think we got to keep in mind, people be talking about Pac like he was 47. You know what I'm saying?
He was that educated, though. He was.
This dude was 25 years old when he passed.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? What were you like at 23?
Not like that.
Exactly.
I'll tell you that. He was light years ahead of it, man.
What version of truth were you at 24, 25? You know what I'm saying? We talk about Pac like he lived an expansive life. You know what I'm saying? Where we got to see Pac be a father, a grandfather. You know what I'm saying? An uncle. We didn't get those versions because his life was cut short. What we got from 25-year-old Pac is stuff that we could walk into today. You know what I'm saying? Kids still resonate with Tupac.
There's a lot of things too, like when he was speaking, like when he was going up against politicians about their policies and how people are being mistreated. Obviously, we all see it. 90% of that stuff is still going on today, and if that was the version of Tupac that they tried to demonize, like he tried to make him look to be a rapist, like he was just spreading the bad word. His music was trash, just gang violence, promoting raping, thugging, all that stuff. They try to demonize him over that,
right?
Because he wasn't with the system. Like If you
And then
look back on his
and
interviews,
I don't want to give it away, but in part there's
yeah.
something kind of similar to like that in this book, which really had me heated. Which is why again I showed up. So I respect him for pulling up on my DMs, but I had that question. Like, you know, I still got questions, but I wanted to
Mhm.
save him for here on this show. So if he comes on, you know, which I think he is, because again he's not run away from any type of faith thus far. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? So I'm gonna reach out to him like, hey, he said, hey, just shoot me the link. We'll talk online. So I'm gonna put it out there, and you know he'll pull up. You know what I'm saying? So and then definitely, you know, if we can make that Edie interview happen, I definitely got some questions for him. But it was definitely a great experience. So shout out to Edie of the Outlaws. Shout out to Jeff Pearlman. You know what I'm saying? And we gonna make this happen. Oh, well, real quick, because Jess was there. I'm over here doing all the talking. Jess, what was your experience?
I can't wait till he comes on the show because I got
Damn,
lots to too.
Damn.
just with the smoke.
She had the look too. She had
Right.
the look like he messed up, bro. Like damn.
No, he not coming now. You know what I'm saying? Thanks, Jess.
She said, "I want him on the show." I was like,
But no, I heard you guys talking about a thug life and all that. Thugs can't be sensitive. Like that's being fake if he's sensitive. That's pretty interesting. I think that he was just above his time. He was probably mature for his age, probably because of everything that he went through. He had to grow up fast because he had to take care of his mom. So he was very knowledgeable on a lot of stuff. And it seems like he had that emotional intelligence as well
But
at a
again,
young
like
age.
the perfect thing that Quest said, he got put on when he was like what 18, 19. You know what I'm saying? And he died at
yeah.
25. You know what I'm saying? So again, you know, and I think what has been put out there is that a lot of us men don't really fully start really maturing until after 25, 26, and maybe. But there's still some who are out there who still haven't really matured. But we ain't talking about them. You know what I mean?
Like
But
this.
you know what I mean?
Leave
You're
me
still
out of
going,
that.
you're still essentially a kid. So you know what I'm saying? So he had to go through the complexities of that, the complexities of, you know, okay, my mother is over here in this predicament. You know, and then he became like, yeah, the symbolism hero for his family. But then also too, he took on the weight of the world as being like a symbol of hope for, you know, for the hopeless. You know what I'm saying? Like, so I mean, he had a lot on his shoulders, you know, facing false accusations, because I don't believe what happened in New York was true. Didn't make sense. He got locked up for 4 years for forcibly touching the buttocks. You know what I'm saying? So it just, and these are just facts. This isn't even allegedly. He consensually was with the chick. Then all of a sudden, because you know he probably dismissed her afterwards, she got in her feelings. You know what I mean? But again, you know that's neither here nor there. But you know we'll extend the invite and see if he comes on. So you know what I
Right.
mean. But real quick, I told